Welcome to the Jamodi Podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is Jamodi, just a matter of doing it. Last question though, 42 years of coaching. What would you do differently if you could start over?
Number one is have more patience and a deeper understanding of going and getting information before I move the group to a certain point. I didn't get enough information. How do you do that if you're a coach out there? Create your own I am sheet, 3 pages. Ask their favorite food, ask the worst tragedy they've ever dealt with, ask their favorite color, their favorite musician, the one book they would take to the moon. Ask them that if they were the president of the United States, give us 2 things that you would do to help America. So now you're connecting them to a bigger picture. But create 3 pages of your own of questions and give it to them before you start the journey of the coaching, because you're going to get more information than you could get in 10 years if you didn't give them that form. And so I think that the thing I learned was to do that earlier and listen more, say less big statements about what your culture is. I'm really rebuke this thing on culture. It's gotten insane, and we use it as a shield.
Yeah,
and yet sorry to interrupt. I'm more into.
Sorry to interrupt. I had a coach. I had a long time varsity head coach in this. I'm in Dallas Fort Worth in this area, just retire, and I had him on, and I asked him about culture. He said, "You know what? That word." He's like 10, 15, 20 years ago, we never used that word. It's just who we are and what we did every day. So right. Sorry, go ahead.
And my thing is that just have a standard of a simple day, an expectation that's clear. And then if it's really done well that day, then it's going to perpetuate itself to the next day. If it's done sloppy, whether it's food, whether it's time, whether it's teaching and how you teach, whether it's respect and how you deal with your superiors, then it's going to be done poorly the next day. And so only worry about one day when it's relevant to culture. Okay. So the second thing would be I would delegate more because delegation is a form of trust. So third is I would go to a parenting class when I had the dream of being a coach, because going to a parenting class is connecting you to human behavior. I don't care if it was Newell, Cheney, even Wooden, Pat Riley, none of them know as much as a director of a parenting class. They don't. These people, and especially an old one who has done this, because what you're doing is when you go to a parenting class, you're learning about human behavior at its inception and the phases of. We have a particular player on our team now who has a fairness issue with officials, and he's always griping with the officials, and he's really bright. But somewhere in the phase, your kid from 5 to 7 goes through where it comes out of their mouth, and it's in that time frame. That's not fair. That's not fair. As you will get a young child who will say, I'm bored. And it's imperative when you go to parenting class, well, I hear that. Well, what do I do? And we do so many wrong things to deal with the word bored, because the child is testing you, and immediately you say, I hear you're bored. Yes. And I don't want to do that. Oh, well, you don't want to do that, or you're bored. And so my point is, it's smoke in my eyes. Now you say, okay, well, Holt, we had our eldest son is named Holt. Well, Holt, you're in charge of your own entertainment. I'm not. And now those crayons were there 3 days ago and you were playing with them. Make them work. And then all of a sudden you say, can I suggest something to you about making those crayons more interesting? Holt, yeah, Dad, yeah. And I go, 3 days from now, I'm going to show you what that is. But for today, make that work. See what you can do with them. Do something different with them. I got to go over here and do this. And that is Frederick Jones. Praise, prompt, leave. I said, hey, you were really good with those crayons yesterday. Now see what you can do with them today that's different, and then walk away. And now all of a sudden they don't have you in the gotcha game, and now you're in charge of juggling and being with them and exhausting yourself with your kids. Because I've heard dads say this all the time. Oh, I'm so exhausted. Where's mom? Well, it's because they have no skill set. And my point is, as a coach, I would go to parenting class ASAP. I wouldn't read a book. I wouldn't talk to Newell. I wouldn't talk to Wooden. First, I would go to a parenting class. That's how important I think that is to the evolution of a coach and understanding what you're inheriting when certain words are used and a player's complaining or hard to deal with. Anybody can deal with somebody that's got great behavior. But when you deal with somebody that's persnickety or they've got all these problems, number 3 is get out there, and every time you're in a room, think you're the dumbest person in the room. Because they say when you go to dinner with people that you know are way smarter than you, the first sign of your intelligence is never to speak. In other words, just ask questions, take notes. But if you're with people that are all scientists, I'm not going in there telling them a thing about the moon, but I'm going to ask them a lot of questions, because really smart people keep asking questions because they're curious. That's just one of those common denominators. So as a coach, I would ask a lot more questions than telling people A, B, and C. And that's a good start for that question. And I'll leave it there.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the Jamodi podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.